But it's interesting that we talked about Marvel because that was actually a long segue for what I wanted to talk about, which was so after we recorded the Fisticuffs, me and Willie spoke a little bit more about Marvel and about like its place and its timing and stuff like that. And he mentioned that like you compare it to something like Killer Instinct, which what was the phrase you used? Something about which is approaching like Smash Brothers levels
of unnecessary content.
Unnecessary content, right?
Yeah.
And like I think the day after or like a few days later, Killer Instinct came out on Steam finally, which like now that I didn't have to, I bought it on the Windows Store, but it always gave me trouble. Like every time, like
I bought it on the Windows Store and it got zero trouble.
Yeah.
I bought the Steam version, massive trouble.
Weird.
On this computer, it will run in nothing but like.
Oh, that's
What?
a known bug that was on the day one, and 2 patches came out that day. To fix that.
Because I bought it on launch day and it would not run anything lower than 720.
I can fix that.
Okay,
It's cool seeing like Total Biscuit going like, oh wow, the menus go do 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 do.
because so many people like wouldn't give it a chance because of whatever it was on
chances.
before.
It was. I'm like,
It needs to be.
I'm
on
like, we are
Steam.
years late to the party, but
Also,
it's okay,
Matt,
guys.
I just need to
have fun with it.
I need 1 second.
Sure.
Matt says that will never come out on Steam. That's stupid. Microsoft will never do it. It is on Steam right now. Ha!
Oh, I
told
said
you
that
so.
at some point.
You said that many times.
Okay,
Um,
I'm glad to be wrong.
but you didn't care that much about it, so there's no good feeling here. But I, like many of the people you just described, I never gave KI a shot because I didn't have an Expo, and because when I tried to get the Windows version, I would always have to fight it. Initially disappointing is the resolution bug that you just mentioned, where every single person that I know that bought the game the day it came out ran into that resolution bug of some kind. Like, why can't I go higher than 720? What the fuck? And direct input controllers are not supported, which sucks. However, I put some time in, and some other friends of mine got it at the same time. And boy, I really like Killer Instinct a whole lot.
Fucking idiot.
Uh-oh.
It's like 4 years
Uh-oh.
later.
Cue the giant novelty check alert. Here it comes. Big KI money, big Microsoft bucks.
I wish. No, it's fantastic. And
Why you got to shill?
I'm glad to, like, how do I put this? I don't know how I feel about it, because I on the one hand, like, I wish I had gotten into it earlier, because like I would have been on the train.
As many people
but
are
at the
playing.
same time,
It's Skullgirls all over again.
It is.
I'd say it's like a more intense version of Skullgirls, because like the cast has like quadrupled since launch at this point, and like my favorite character right now is one of the dead last to be added, which was Ram.
You like General Ram?
Yeah,
I like General Ram, really.
I don't like General Ram.
I don't like him either.
I love him. I think he's great.
Okay.
And Spinal and Thunder, of course, Thunder.
Thunder's the best.
But man, what is like? Is that game just over now? What's the deal?
Yep, you're too late.
It's over in terms of actual content being added in.
No. I mean, like, in terms of
Playing it casually?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're too late.
No, there's
Competitively, it's still going.
it just came out.
It's going super well.
on Steam for a Steam audience.
Yeah,
I'll be going.
There is a late adopter crowd that are playing on Steam right now,
But since
so
it's-
you can join
since
that.
It's literally cross-play on all three versions.
Yeah.
Like there's still going to be a lot.
But I mean, as
Like, you can still make a lobby and still play against the
But I
Xbox
mean,
owners.
like, as far as like Fever Pitch goes and all that, it's like, yeah, it's on Steam because they're finally decided it's been long enough and we kind of don't care anymore. So
That's really disappointing.
They maxed out the sales on Xbox. They maxed out the sales that anyone
too
would
late,
buy on Windows
unfortunately.
Store. So then they want to max out the last.
and
like,
that's
avenue
why I
that
was
they have.
asking you the other day. It's like, well, when's Killer Instinct 2?
well, here's my question now. Well, and guess what? You already got it,
Yeah.
and possibly 3.
Yeah.
Because of the amount of shit that's gone in over the years. Now, here's what I want to know. Based on this and based on similar experiences, because Skullgirls is not the same thing, but it's a very similar thing and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
When fantastic game comes out but is inaccessible due to
for whatever reason.
right? it's totally understandable when it's like, okay, I don't have the money, or I'm not going to shell out for this because I don't have that thing or whatever. But if it's something that you can get, but you're just like, I don't want to.
What do you mean exactly?
Like Windows Store,
like physically acquire, or
no, Windows Store,
like Windows Store, for example, where it's like you can get this on your computer. It's just, right? Do you now, knowing that game is excellent, would you still go do it, or would you still hold out?
I knew the game was excellent. I didn't know that I would like it this much, but. Like, I bought it on the Windows Store, and every time I fucking went to play it, I had problems.
Okay.
Like,
I'm trying to figure out...
Windows Store is Games for Windows Live again.
Because I'm trying to figure out if, like, you're willing to...
Like if that had been hassle...
Bite the bullet if you like the game enough.
Had that been hassle-free...
Or not.
Like, to actually start it up and play it?
Yeah.
Yes.
What was the actual problem?
Like Origin.
In my start bar, I would type in killer... It would pop up. I'd click on it, and then it would start. So what was what?
It would either not do that, or my fucking credentials would be fucking wrong, or like, it would be unstable.
Do you know what I think the issue was? The fact that since I already owned it on Xbox One, and then I had like my Windows account is just like my Hotmail account. I think if you own it previously and then you buy it on Windows Store, then it just instantly updated with all my trophy data, everything I've unlocked, and it would just go. It would just go. Maybe that's the issue.
It did not just go for me. It was super frustrating. Couldn't stand it. Also, the version of that, like I remember originally having like goofy the way Windows apps come out has really bizarre performance.
When I first booted it up,
stuff.
I literally first booted up the PC like Windows Store version at Team 4Star's computers, and for some reason everything would go in slow motion.
That's a fun one.
Yeah, and you would need to.
But Skullgirls was a completely different situation. Well, Skullgirls is like I can't stand.
I remember. That's why I expanded the question to say like including things like that too. But I just it bums me out.
Like I'm not going to play a game where I think every single character looks like shit.
Sure. It bums me out to say that, like, a game, especially like a fighting game, it's like, right? It's like, yeah, unfortunately that time has passed type of thing. Because I'm like, once upon a time, if it was in an arcade cabinet, who cares? The cabinet would be around somewhere.
Yeah, it's very neutral.
You know what I mean?
Where it is.
Like, the online's not as popping as it used to be, but whatever. There's still, the game is out, it exists, and people will still play it, because you'll run into it sometimes, you know? And like, yeah, now we kind of live in an age where since that doesn't exist, and there's so many choices with fighters and whatnot, that like, there is that sort of spike period, and then something really good, doesn't matter how good, will still just kind of drone off in popularity until it's just competitive left.
At least fucking Microsoft IPs will show up on PC and Steam. Whereas like, if you don't have a PlayStation 4, you're basically fucked. You're gonna miss a bunch of amazing titles.
Yeah.
But there's at least Sony published ones.
But there's certain types of games where it's like there's no boat to be missed. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like first person shooters, MOBAs, things like that. Like there's certain games where it's just like, nope, it's out and it's here to stay, and that's it.
You want to play Counter-Strike? Guess what? You'll always be able to play Counter-Strike,
no matter what, right? And like it hurts, but it's the nature of being a niche genre, you know. Which means that since you're a fan of fighting games, that like it sucks, but like diligence on that is a thing where you're kind of like, fuck, if I do like this thing, there's a time window in which it
yeah, but it's like I feel like Killer Instinct was like the most extreme of all of those, in that it's like it's an exclusive on a console that you personally have no reason to buy, right? I don't mean you, I mean like me.
Yeah.
Right? I have personally no reason to buy this unless it's for Killer Instinct. I'm not going to buy a fucking console for just that game, especially not what it was at launch.
Bought a Dreamcast for Third Strike.
Killer Instinct is not Third Strike.
I hear you.
I'm
introducing the concept of I've bought consoles for fighting games.
Right, but like when Killer Instinct came out, it was like 6 characters.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like I mean,
it wasn't 6 characters, but yes.
It was. Literally was.
Thank you for being condescending.
It wasn't 8?
6 characters. Then they added Spinal and Fulgore over the next couple of months. Then that was the end of Double Helix's thing. And
my bad. Yeah, go on.
Right, 6 character fighting game. Like right, and then it's like, okay, well, it stayed there for ages. Like it took like years for it to come to even the Windows Store.
It was 6 characters, but it was $20.
Yeah, or free, but with Jago.
It was free with Jago, and then they started rotating the characters.
I feel like, because even if we look at a game like,
like what was the point where I was supposed to take the quote unquote risk? I even bought the whole fucking thing on PC and then couldn't play it well.
Yeah, and I think about like,
are you, like,
even if
yes or no, are you gonna buy an Xbox One X?
Maybe.
If you see it in a store, you'll get it, but like you're not gonna go out and get it.
So the reason I have a PlayStation 4 Pro now is because Sony puts out a shitload of first-party exclusives that I want to play, that I really want to play.
Yes, of course.
I don't care about Forza. I don't care about Gears, I don't care about Halo.
Do you want the most powerful console ever made?
That affects you on a spiritual level.
Exactly.
No, but then the question becomes: is there a third-party game that I really, really want to play that is substantially better on the Xbox One X? If so, then yes.
The only thing I can literally think of, and I don't even think you've played it, maybe you have, is like Tomb Raider.
Yeah. Or no, but I mean going forward, right? There's going to be new ones.
To backtrack a little bit, the news articles that come out, like the one this week about Dead or Alive free-to-play edition having 10 million downloads is
crazy,
super interesting to me, and I need to keep on top of that type of news, because what I love to find out about is, in a world where even, let's say, a game like KI or something else that was like really, really good, it's like in a world where it's free.
I think it's a huge missed opportunity on Steam and Windows that there is no free-to-play version of it.
In a world where excellent fighting game is free, will that be enough to keep a sustained population?
Yeah, it hasn't popped yet. Nobody's actually given it the shot.
Will that be enough, or will that itself still go by the wayside after a couple months?
The one fighter being free in Killer Instinct is like, that was fine for a while.
Yeah.
But now they should have expanded it to be like 6 or 8 fighters that are free, and then everyone else you got to pay.
Like a percentage of the roster, almost, right?
Like General Ram and Arbiter should always not be free.
Yes,
because that would get people to. Because when Total Biscuit played the game, he was like, "Who the fuck is this?" Oh, it's the fucking Arbiter. I didn't know the fucking Arbiter was in this. What the fuck?
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow, that talks about 2 things. 1, they did a shit job at marketing the Arbiter. And 2, like, then you're discovering, like, there's fucking guest characters in this game.
Dude,
and then people just didn't know.
It's like a guest character in a card game. If you don't pay attention to card games, why would you hear about it?
Why would you hear about it? Yeah.
So there are like 2 main types of business models that they could go on, right? In the free-to-play thing.
I don't want to forget a point. Go on.
So you got Dota, which is everything is fucking free, but you are drowning in cosmetics.
Yes.
And to the point where the community is allowed to make new cosmetics.
Yeah.
And, right? I don't think that's ever going to happen for a fighter. I think for a fighting game character, the amount of assets you'd have to create for a full model is like too much for that kind of community involvement. So instead, you go for the League/HOTS thing. You have the rotating set of free guys. So say Killer Instinct's, what is it, 29 characters now?
28, 29.
3 seasons worth.
Okay, 3 seasons
plus
worth.
2.
Say 1/4 of those are free to play every week. Or every 2 weeks, right? And if you discover, hey, one of these I want them to be my main, you use the free to play currency, or you buy them for a couple bucks, right? That is what I see as the good idea for the free to play fighting game for the future.
Apparently, Keats wanted that, and Microsoft wouldn't go for it.
Fuck, that sucks. That would have done so well.
Yeah, might have.
Right. Apparently, that's one of the things that
He also thinks Fulgore is top tier, but he's not.
Yeah, but until you're a top player, you don't know.
He can just say no. You're all using them wrong.
He can't say that. But his wife said he wasn't.
But I mean, here's the thing: is that if you are looking at a game that has, like I said, like 10 million downloads, right? Dead or Alive 5, whatever.
Killer Instinct has something like 6 million. Like a year ago, they announced, like, congratulations, Killer Instinct gained 6 million players.
Now, that doesn't mean shit.
That includes free people.
But that doesn't mean shit when you're looking at active players, right?
No, it doesn't.
So you need to look at active players to see, it's like, okay, who's downloaded this for free, but actually stays and plays it, right?
Yeah.
Because basically that fade-off that happens with every fighting game will, of course, happen with the free-to-play one.
Sure.
But I want to know, like,
that original number is so large if it's free.
Exactly. That the sustainability and the fact that there's no window It's really just forever that you can play this. That's what you want to achieve here. And what I wonder about is like, is it just due to the multiplayer nature of this game inherently that you can't sustain a large audience in that way?
Do
you need more than just cinematic single player campaigns? Do you need what effectively is a side-scrolling like character action game?
I see two things
out of your
here.
fighter to really get people's attention and have them stick with it. Because remember, Dark Souls has a massive, awesome multiplayer function that people treat like a fighting game.
Yes.
Stuck in the middle of a giant single player campaign.
Yeah.
You know, and like I'm like, do you need people's attention like that? Where it's not the primary thing they're coming for, even. They're buying it for that single player campaign, but you have an awesome competitive thing in the middle of that.
All right, so here's the way that I see it break down in terms of like because
we've had years to see that like it's just not enough.
I similarly
I'm sorry, and I want to say that the goals I'm thinking of are like massive global. This game is getting played.
Counter-Strike, StarCraft,
PUBG.
Yeah.
Go on.
So okay, so fighting games, I think, because I have similar thoughts, because I thought Street Fighter V was going to be the one that actually tried it, and then they pussed out, and then Killer Instinct on PC doesn't do it either, and then there's a couple problems with fighting games specifically. Number one is that all of these big, giant, super free-to-play games, they're all team-based.
Yeah,
all of them.
Cooperative.
They all have. They're all games that you can play with a group of your friends, and this I'm including MMOs as well.
Yep.
Having like right now with me playing Final Fantasy 14, for example, it's more about the guys that I hang out with in a Discord nearly every single day than the actual game itself. That's just the thing that we happen to play or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But you know, people will have their Dota team of them and their 3 or 4 guys at work. Right, or their family members or whatever, right? And fighting games, not only do they not have that, but like between any group of friends, any group of family, anything, skill levels form, and you know your older brother or your younger sister or whatever, they're gonna stomp you, and that discourages people, right?
Yeah, of course.
Also, in fighting games, it's the long-standing thing of like, there's no one to blame but yourself when you get stomped. Or maybe your opponent.
It wasn't your cooperation.
Yeah, it wasn't the team. It wasn't...
yeah.
Right. The other thing, and I think it's an issue of platform. So all of the really super, super gigantic ones have been on PCs. And part of the reason is that it's like over long enough time. Like StarCraft only got more popular over time because everybody could run fucking StarCraft.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody can run Dota and League of Legends and Counter-Strike even, right? So it becomes like ubiquitous. But the problem is that fighting games aren't generally popular on PC because they've been poorly supported. They come later, or all the really intense guys play on consoles, and all tournament standards are set on consoles and stuff like that.
Yeah,
like you want that game. It has to come out day and date on the PC, and it also has to have the kind of infrastructure that these kinds of games actually support and have.
Yeah, and so that's
and I don't see that happen.
No, that supports exactly what I'm talking about. Where I think that the only way to get to that level, because once again, you know, I talked about it a couple times when I feel like, you know, like MOBAs came along, like there's always a genre that takes the spotlight.
Yeah,
and it can't happen with a fighter unless fighters get reinvented. Right, something has to come out in a way that has a lot of the traits of a fighting game, but then approaches everything else in such a different way that gets people in and has people enjoying themselves, perhaps playing as a part of a team.
I got it.
Right? But you have to reinvent so much of it.
All right. I got it.
In order to get to that like global stage for people to stick around and actually be like, this is fun, and I see the competitive part.
Okay.
And or I'm having enough of it. I can tune in, play a round or two, and like treat it like Overwatch. Mm-hmm. You have to change so much about what we do with fighting games now.
So I have the solution. I just figured it out. Okay, so you have your fighting game and you play it on a team, and it's 5 versus 5 fighting game team, right? And it's all simultaneous, and all of your special moves are on cooldowns, and then you pull the camera out to be top down, and then you replace the stick with a mouse.
Yeah. Got it.
There you go.
Got it.
Amazing.
And the stage has...
I super disagree with you in terms of like the fighting game needs to be reinvented. I think the modern current fighting game, especially something like KI or even Dragon Ball FighterZ, can do it. It just needs to have the actual structure
Well,
that
go on.
it needs to succeed.
No. What it needs is that like what's the most popular fighting game right now? It's
now,
it's Mortal Kombat X.
it probably is.
Like it's sold the most, right? You the first thing you need to do. Well, what?
Well, because how are we?
What
What level of popularity are we actually
qualify the
looking at?
question.
In terms
Qualify
of
the
sales.
question a little
In terms
bit.
of sales.
But when you say what's the most popular fighting game right now,
Right now.
I think what game is being played the most.
If we jump on
yeah,
Twitch,
yeah.
what are people playing?
The last couple of years, what's been the most popular versus like money dollar spent?
Well,
like,
Mortal
let's say
Kombat
Mortal
sells the
Kombat.
most. Period.
Sold
That's
the
easy.
most, yeah.
And,
if just sales, then sure.
I talked about this before, and it turned into a joke. Matt knows the secret moves, but when people were playing Street Fighter V, like mainstream guys that were liked fighting games, but they're just doing special moves in Street Fighter V, and just nothing's whatever. They tap 2 shoulder buttons in MKX, and the most insane shit ever happens. Like button inputs need to change.
Yeah, but
that to reach that mainstream
and
audience.
like we've been talking about it.
Clicks is
Yeah.
all you need to do in a MOBA
And
for
we've been-
cool shit to happen.
No, that's not true. You need QWERTY.
Sure.
And we've been. And
You
we,
I
need-
just mean
you
in
need-
terms of your fingers.
You need
but-
A. You need
but here's
B.
the thing: we've been addressed like we've talked about Rising Thunder a million times, right?
On
And
a
we've talked
MOBA
about-
or an RTS, you are absolutely using just as many
Fantasy
buttons
Strike.
as
I've
a
talked
stick.
about Fantasy Strike.
But we played Fantasy.
Right.
I
But
like Fantasy
You just have the
Strike.
directions reversed, where the right hand is the movement and the left hand's all the buttons.
And stylish / easy mode has been in like every other
last fighting
major
game was the
release
last, like, 2
constant.
years.
But it's been there since Marvel 1, even way before that. People don't even care. It's
no
not
one
about
wants
that.
to play on baby shit.
No one
mode.
wants to feel like that, so they don't. They don't
Then
get
all
that.
you have to do is not present it like that. That's why
Even
Mortal
doesn't
Kombat.
matter.
They're not. People are going to
That's
smell
why
it out.
Super moves in Mortal Kombat
People
are
are gonna
just
smell it
fucking
out.
2 shoulder buttons together,
Matt,
and that's it universally.
It doesn't.
They're going
matter.
to smell it out, and they're going to not like it no matter
Any
what.
handicapped advantage will make people feel like
No,
shit.
I'm not. I know.
And
I don't
because-
mean like when it says baby mode versus turbo mode in like an old Capcom fighter. I mean the
Yeah.
fact that like MKX or even MK9, whatever it was, to do an X-ray move, to do the biggest thing you could possibly do, and even in Injustice, it's 2 fucking shoulder buttons. People just want to see cool shit. For mainstream people to get into it.
Like Dota and League and all those games and Counter-Strike, one of their defining characteristics is that they're super hard to play. I don't think that is actually the problem. Like Dota requires you to play like a year before you understand the game. Like it has nothing to do with the time. If the game is free as shit, people will put the time in.
But what I mean is that if you
Okay,
play
go
Overwatch and Overwatch came out, everything is a button press. That's just what I mean.
Yeah.
But the problem, right, and to address to answer you and address what you talked about before, similarly, is that what I'm actually talking about here, though, is like what you described with easy things, easy inputs, and stylish things happening for doing very little. We've seen multiple versions of that already, and it hasn't taken. We've seen, like, there's Dragon Ball games where you just mash a single button and get all kinds of crazy shit. Like, there's versions of this that still don't take because the nature of a fighting game is something where if you're not having a blast competing against other people online, your interest will wane. Because it's set amount of characters, set amount of stages. I feel like I've seen it all. There's something else that's going to catch my attention because the competitive drive necessarily is not in everybody. So that why would they care to put that much
So
more
you
time?
have to marry both a complicated
I
thing.
completely
and like
agree with
an
that
easy thing.
because like
So
like look at MOBAs, like they're not flashy. Like
No.
you're very far away from your character,
But they're addictive.
and it's an arrow or like a beam that shoots out. Like it doesn't.
But they're very addictive, right? And so that's why when I'm saying reinvent, because you went like, I don't think they need to be reinvented. I don't mean the gameplay in the way that you're thinking.
You mean the structure.
I'm saying the structure that the gameplay is sitting in.
Yeah.
Right? Because fundamentally, if that nature of like limited cast, limited stage, whatever thing is like, people are just going to get tired at that. Like we all thought, if we cut out the middleman.
I mean, for fuck's sake, Dota and League have one map.
We all thought, like, if you cut out the middleman, and so does PUBG, right?
Yeah.
And you get straight to the core of like what is cool about reading the mind of the opponent, we could get to the fun, and everyone will feel it, and it'll be great.
Yeah.
It's like no, because we've already done that.
Damn.
And we've seen it, and it still doesn't work, right? That's still not enough for people. And if it's free, does that work? Sort of.
We haven't actually seen it.
We need
try,
and that's why I'm so interested in that Dead or Alive thing, because I'm like, I want to see the version of that with everything else we're talking about.
I agree.
See if it works.
I want to see the widest net cast.
And if that doesn't work, if the freeness doesn't work,
then it's too niche.
Then it's too niche, and that's what I'm saying. You have to package the competitive fighting inside of another game.
Yeah,
almost, because people are just not interested enough in the base thing to be like, I want to keep playing this over time.
I think fighting games have a really, really, really inherent problem, and I mentioned it a little bit, but it's like, in any game, it's fun to win and it's not fun to lose. In a team game, it's fun. It's great to win and it sucks shit to lose, but in a fighting game, like, it's ecstatic to win, but it can be devastating to lose. Like, loss never hurts more than in a fighting game.
Yeah.
And I think that actually kind of locks out a huge portion of the audience by default.
Yeah.
People who just can't... Because there's going to be winners and losers in a one-on-one.
When I was watching Total Biscuit stream Killer Instinct, and I was like, whoa, this will actually make people play Killer Instinct.
Yep. Yeah.
Is that he's like, hey, when I lose in this, I always feel like I got we make it a joke.
I got some good hits.
I got some good hits, and I got 2 or 3 big combos that I was like, that makes me feel good that it got in, and doesn't make me feel hopeless. Like, if he had played, or someone had played, like Street Fighter V, and they were like someone that didn't play games, they would go and they get fucking wrecked. They get fucking wrecked every time almost. Yeah. But like Killer Instinct is just, and that's just the way the gameplay works. And I also feel like, maybe not Mortal Kombat, but like, it's really hard because you have to make your fighting game in such a way that there's depth, that there's easiness to some things, but not like everything.
The closest version of what we just described existing is basically Smash Brothers, where you have to do it so different that people are arguing about whether or not you're even a fighting game. Right? You create a complete paradigm shift by making the gameplay super different, fundamentally the same at the base level, but you still got teams, single-player adventures, massive package for you to buy.
If Smash Bros. Was like free to play and on PC with scalability, it would be the most popular game.
Littered with Nintendo characters and also characters from everything you love.
Yeah.
Like, it's got everything going for it minus free to play and PC. And that's how hard you have to go in repackaging the concept of, like, this is a fighting game to somebody. To get those numbers, I think.
What Matt was saying reminded me of something a little while ago. There was this...
It's a new genre.
There's this big Twitter thread about developers sharing like tips and tricks and shit like that.
Yeah.
And one of them was a guy who worked on Gears of War. And he had 2 pieces of advice about player engagement that is somewhat vital to our conversation. One is that when you go into a new area in the single player, the first shot from any enemy will always miss your character. Guaranteed.
In MMOs?
No, in Gears of War.
In Gears of War, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
The first shot will always miss your character so that it lets the player know you're in a fight now, but it doesn't nail them with a cheap shot out of nowhere.
Okay.
And the second one, which is way more interesting, is that they had data from like tests and shit. It's like, okay, so in Gears of War, players who fail to get a kill at all in their first match are likely to never ever play multiplayer ever again. So what they did is that for your first couple of matches, until you get enough kills, your character is weighted differently than other characters.
Weighted.
It has more health. It has more accuracy.
I didn't know that.
What?
It's harder to knock them out of chainsaw animations and stuff like that. So that the first...
You have a power character when you start?
So the first time you play Gears of War, you are nearly guaranteed
to get a kill.
To get at least 1 kill.
Wow.
And then within 2-3 matches, that shit just goes away.
Is this a known thing?
Well, it is now. It wasn't known until about a week ago.
No, and no one would catch that because anyone that plays the game enough and is good at it is way beyond that point.
Yeah. And it's what a great idea.
So fighting games need that.
Yes.
What the fuck?
Honestly,
that's crazy.
Fighting games don't need that, but something similar to that could actually help a lot.
Like, I almost want to stop the podcast and just think about that for a while to decide how I feel.
Because think about it. when you start a new game of Street Fighter, Super Street Fighter 4. The day that Super Street Fighter 4 came out, and a lot of people saw, oh man, look at all these characters. They bought it, they went online, and what happened? They got fucking
wrecked by anybody who knows how to play Street Fighter.
Trounced. And how many of those people actually were going to stick around?
Oh my god.
Probably not that many.
Because think about I'm thinking about the
because this is an implementation of what Matt was talking about earlier with like it's not baby mode, it actually just lies to you.
Yeah, and it's tricking people into liking it more than they would if they knew what it was.
That win felt really good.
You're tricking people into liking it more than they would. Totally. It's a commercial. It's a movie ad. It's a trailer. It's a lie.
I would argue that anyone within even the lowest tier of any competitive game would absolutely stomp to shit any player with nearly any advantage, right? So like,
once you know about like movement and like how to not get hit and how to maximize your reloading.
Like, Wooly, I'm a fairly terrible MOBA player, right? Mm-hmm. But I play them casually. If me and you played against each other on your first match, you could be given straight up numerical advantages and I would still win, but you'd probably get me a couple times.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there's value in that lie.
Do you remember that level of Titanfall 2 where it's just a war?
Yeah.
And you drop down, and then the first thing is, like, take cover from, like, the cannons.
Yeah.
And then you go and you fight a bunch of junk Titans.
Yeah.
And you get this awesome cinematic, like, Normandy moment.
Yeah.
Then you go into the gates, and then some real fights start.
Yeah.
And then you go beyond the gates, and it gets fucking real.
Yeah.
Right? Like, that's kind of like a thing that, like, I feel like is almost like what you're describing, where the first junk Titans you take out are super easy to kill, but you're still taking damage from all sides.
They're there to empower you.
And you feel good about the momentum that you use to blast through that fence and then get into the real fights.
Yeah.
But in a fighting, like...
people would notice and they'd freak out.
Instantly!
And that's the problem. In Gears, no one knew about this until the guy mentioned it.
Because you die multiple times per game.
And it's subtle.
It's just like everyone doesn't notice.
The KDR in a fighting game is 2-0 or 1-2.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, the end of it. Like,
your KDR is 100% or 50% or 0.
That's it. Unless you're playing Smash Brothers, which, again, paradigm shift.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. Okay,
Just do a Killer Instinct or a Street Fighter V and actually give it the entire free-to-play structure. God damn it, please. I want to see it. I know that's a big risk to just ask, but still.
I mean, even things like Dive Kick, you know, like, had, like, that life, and then it's super dirt cheap, and it's just, like, I mean, it's a simple fighting game, so of course it's not gonna last like years.
He learned all his balancing from Dive Kick.
But like even Dive Kick as an example is something that, like, you know, is not immune from this overall, like, I'll call it FGC entropy.
Boat missing.
You know what I mean? Yeah. The energy and the scene and the hype just, like, leaves because people just don't care over the course of, let's say 30 to 40 days.
Luckily, there's 3 to 4 friends of mine that also picked up KI at the exact same time, and we're all playing it in our little casual group.
Best. That's fun. That's the best fun you can have.
And also,
right now.
luckily, because of my position as somebody who has a lot of followers on Twitter, we all have the superpower where I go, if I were to go, hey, does anybody want to play Killer Instinct? Like, I'd probably get some matches, right? But the average person doesn't have that.
They don't?
No. They don't?
They don't.
What is the quizzical tone at the end of this?
I think Matt's tired.
Okay.
We'll move on.
We'll move on.